Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is some Christian guy, and today I'm going to be doing a slightly more non-Christian related topic, but maybe in a way related to Christianity, because Christianity concerns itself very much with how we behave and all of these kinds of things. And anyway, we'll get to this. So as you saw from the thing, it talks about that Tourette's outrage. Let's have a look here. Tourette's comedy outrage. So what happens is this guy made a joke, and as usual in our modern day outrage culture, everyone just went like, it's just the usual social justice stupidity just went off, and everyone was offended. Okay, which just is one of those things, right? Now, why did I choose to talk about this specifically? The reason being is because I've actually got Tourette's. Now, any one of you that has watched any of my videos at all will know, or should have noticed, that I shrug my shoulders sometimes. I have a tick in my hands, my right hand as well. I blink a lot, and there are other ticks that there are other issues associated with my Tourette's, which then are a lot less apparent, which that are off camera that you then don't see. And I'm able to, for short periods of time, able to control certain things, whilst other things are completely involuntary. So for example, some of you might have noticed I do this a lot with my nose in my videos. That's another thing of the Tourette's, sort of clearing the nose, and you can get people that make noises or grunts or whatever the case might be. So there's a wide-ranging sort of thing with Tourette's. But anyway, I've got Tourette's, okay? And Tourette's is a pain in the ass. I cannot even tell you how much of a pain in the backside Tourette's disorder is, right? It really is very, very unfortunate. And it's on a spectrum. So some people are more like me, where I'm still high functioning. It doesn't prevent me from being able to drive and work and do certain things and stuff like that. It affects my social interactions to a very small degree, although that is mostly because I have learnt over time. I've become good at being social, right? And also, if you look at personality trait theory, my personality is very social. So I'm very low in neuroticism, which is actually unusual for people with Tourette's. I'm very low in neuroticism, and I'm extremely high in extroversion, which is assertiveness and enthusiasm, which is your social dimension and your self-confidence dimension. So I am in as far as the whole Tourette's thing goes, I'm actually quite unusual, because a lot of people with Tourette's will have like depression, in terms of comorbidities, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and they will typically, if you assess their personality traits, they will quite typically be relatively high in trait neuroticism, which is why you often see them then a lot of comorbidity with things like depression and stuff like that within Tourette's, and so on and so forth. So I'm a little bit of an outlier in that way. And also extroversion is not always very, very high in people with Tourette's. You will find that a lot of people with Tourette's tend to sort of withdraw, specifically because of the condition. Makes you a bit self-conscious, you're not as assertive and all these kinds of things, because it especially with the more severe ones, where you've got really, really violent tics and stuff like that. It can cause a person to sort of become a bit of an introvert and stuff like that. But anyway, so let's get quickly stuck into the. So here's just a little bit of a thing. There's the National Institute Neurological Disorders. So it's actually a neurological disorder, characterized by repetitive, stereotyped involuntary movements and vocalizations called tics. So when I was a kid, if you have children or you see this in a child, you will often find even just talking about this makes it worse. That's how bad it is. It's awful. So you see me shrug my shoulder here. When I was a kid, I used to do like right in the in my throat, I used to go like, and for no reason. It's almost like if you understand what an oral fixation is, like if you are a normal sort of person, and you like the way something feels, you might want to then eat it. Like you might enjoy the texture of a particular food. And now with people with like obsessive compulsive disorder and things like that, that sensation becomes a fixation, and you almost crave that. And so the vocal aspects are almost like an oral fixation, which is why we one of the reasons why we say certain words, because it's not so much, it has nothing to do with what you're saying, but how it feels when you say it. Right, that's big. A lot of people think that it has something to do with the words, and one of the reasons why it happens to be swear words a lot is because there's something about the vocalization, feeling and process and energy that goes into a swear word and stuff like that releases tension and releases energy, which is why swear words are the way they are. So typically you will find swear words are not very long. Swear words usually are no more than 4 letters long. You will notice that no more than 4 letters long, and usually have words like sh or k or g. There's these types of harsh sounds to them, right? And there's reasons for that. It's because of the way it feels. It has less to do with the word, and that is actually one of the reasons why certain words become curse words over time. Because when you feel a frustration, like in a normal person, when you feel that sense of frustration, it's like this tension builds up, and by saying that word, you almost release that tension. And it's exactly the same thing for us when with people with Tourette's. It's almost like that tension is constantly building and being released, almost like if you tension a spring and then let the spring go. That's sort of the best way I can sort of describe it. And we find that release in both our muscle movements as well as in our vocalizations. It's this build-up of tension and then release tension. It's almost like a nervous energy that gets put in, and if we control it, so if we stop with no blinking and we're completely still, we feel in our muscles that tension starts to build until we really have to do it again. So and so it's now try doing this, right? So if you actually stiffen up and then do that, so that you almost like and now do that for 24 hours straight without stopping, and you're going to realize the kind of hell, the absolute hell that it can be. So Tourette's is rough, let me tell you. It really is rough. So anyway, back to the internet source. Typical symptoms are typically noticed in childhood, right? Average onset between 3 and 9 years. Occurs in people, all ethnic groups, and males are vastly more affected than females are, 3 to 4 times more often than females, right? So this is very much one of those sort of gender discriminatory type of neurological problems. Very much like ADHD and ADD is also more common in men than it is in women, and in fact, I do not know of a person that has Tourette's that does not have ADD or ADHD. For example, I've got ADD as well, which is why some of my videos are the way they are. Sometimes you will notice, and I see this when I go and I do my video and I go watch it afterwards, I find how many times I start a thought, and before finishing the thought, I jump onto another one. So you guys might be watching the video, might be very frustrated, but unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's one of them things, So, ADHD very, very common, if not almost all the time, right? 200,000 Americans have the most severe form of Tourette's, and as many as 100 exhibit milder and less complex, and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very small percentage of the population that actually has experienced Tourette's. And like most of these disorders, the population that experiences is always very, very tiny minority of people compared to the overall. And this is part of the point I'm going to make in this video, right? It's a very small number of us that actually exhibit this, and an even smaller amount of us that actually have the really completely life debilitating, totally wrecks you type of Tourette's. Very, very small number of us actually do. So simple. I'm going to put these links in the description so you can go. And so here, you know, they talk about dramatic tics, throat clearing, sniffing, snorting, grunting, barking. You know, so the barking can actually come in useful if you don't have a dog and the burglar breaks into your house and you start barking. Well, there we go, you chase the burglar away. So you know, it has its upsides, right? Right. So now sometimes you can have self-harm motor things. So you see sometimes people they hit themselves or punch themselves and stuff like that, and that's just I remember a guy who used to hit himself, was a girl actually, used to hit herself in the chest, and she actually had to wear like a pad on her chest to prevent the bruising, and all. It was really, really like crazy. And then also coprolalia, so socially inappropriate words such as swearing, right? And echolalia, such as repeating the words or phrases of others. Now this is actually quite a thing. One thing you will find with people and it's such a problem. So for example, you will find, like myself and my wife, a lot of people have noticed this but never said anything because people tend to be polite, but my wife noticed this and brought it up. She's like, have you noticed that if you speak to someone with a different accent to yours, you pick up their accent, right? And that's one of the weird things I do, and it has nothing, I'm not taking the piss out of the person, I'm not doing anything like that. What's literally happening is that when people that suffer with Tourette's, our mirror, I think they call it mirror neurons, are almost hyperactive. So we have a way, so we tend to imitate those around us quite a lot, and some people might think that you're taking the mick out of them and might get a little bit annoyed, and then it's like, oh, what the hell are you doing? So if I'm talking to someone of like a different nationality and they're speaking you know, obviously in an accent, I start imitating their accent. And in this day of modern outrage culture, you can imagine what that's like. Right, they think you're taking the mick and all that kind of stuff is actually quite funny. But you know, you explain to the person, listen, you know, and here's the interesting thing is sometimes the reason why people don't say anything is because they see that I blink and I've got the tics and stuff like that, and like, well, there's obviously something clearly wrong with the guy, so we're gonna leave him alone, right? Oh man, it's good times, let me tell you. So crazy stuff. So we all, and here's the thing, we don't only imitate accents and words, but we often sometimes we will imitate in terms of, we will mirror movements, sort of thing. So there's a joke where like, you know, if you put a whole bunch of some guy actually made this joke where he had Tourette's as well, and went to like some special camp or whatever, and they put all these Tourette's kids in a circle, right, to play a game. And now the worst thing about that is now you've got all these kids who have all these tics, and if you see the other kid with a tic, you start imitating their tic, and now you've got like 50 kids all in a circle, all and you can imagine, it's an absolute bloody disaster, right? So it's ridiculous. So and it's the mirror. And now here's the thing, right? There is actually a benefit to that if you are a little bit more high functioning and stuff like that. What part of what makes certain people socially very successful is actually the ability to imitate in subtle ways, obviously in subtle, almost subconscious ways, the movements of the other person, because by mirroring the other person's movements, it allows them to feel more comfortable with you, and is almost like a subconscious non-verbal way of establishing commonality with the other person with you. And then as obviously by knowing this, growing up, I learned this, and then I actually used my disability, for want of a better word, as almost like an advantage in social situations, because I learned how to manage and control it by being aware of this. So it was actually a bit of a benefit. Coprolalia is only present in a small number, so 10 to 15% of individuals who with Tourette's syndrome, right? So a very small number of us actually have the verbal tics. Most of us have. Here's the thing: the coprolalia is the very severe form, but most of us will have some kind of verbal tic of some description. And some tics are preceded by an urge or sensation in the affected muscle group, commonly called a premonitory urge, right? And this is exactly it. Someone will describe a complete a tic in a certain way, also in order to relieve the urge or decrease the sensation. So it's almost I actually think that obsessive compulsive disorder and Tourette's might lie in similar places. They might have a root commonality somewhere, although OCD is more common in women, and then obviously Tourette's. So the way our brains are slightly different, it's probably the same root thing that kind of manifests a little bit differently. And interestingly enough, you will find that women with Tourette's in general tend to think more, generally speaking. There's that whole male brain thing. So for example, like autism is more common in men than in women, and you will find that women who have autism tend to think more like men do, very systematized, very logical, very lacking in certain emotional dimensions and stuff like that. And so it lends to that fact that there's something about maleness and femaleness that sort of brings these things out. It's very, very interesting stuff, actually. Apparently it was one of the strange things. Apparently in July or something like that, or June, it was Tourette's Awareness Month. I've got Tourette's. I had no idea, right? And here's the thing: I'm not entirely sure about this whole Tourette's awareness. Here's the problem with awareness: it's like people who actually give a damn already know, and those who don't give a damn will never know. But if people want to do it, then let them do it. I'm one of those people, each to his own, right? If people derive some meaning in life or whatever by going and championing go ahead. Just don't make a bloody nuisance of yourself, which I think is exactly what's going on here, which is why I'm doing this video. What is the course? It's so can vary over time. Tics can come and go. So when I was young, I think I was in sort of mid to late high school, I had a tic where I used to shake my head like this. Can you imagine, right? I used to do this. My friends used to take the mickey out of me. It's like, Morgan, say no. And I'm like there, like I'm gonna kick your ass, right? So good times, let me tell you. So yeah, I used to. So it started out of nowhere, where I used to shake my head, sort of thing, and then one day it stopped, and then like this tic in my hands, I've only had for the past 9 months, 10 months. Started out of nowhere, right? On both hands, started out of nowhere. So they can come and go, but then, for example, my blinking has been with me since I was a kid, since I was like, as far back as I've always had. So you will tend to have one or two tics that just stay with you forever. Like that's just the way it's always been. And depending on levels of anxiety or stress or excitement or whatever, it can get either worse or better, sort of thing. And then the muscles sometimes you're just like, you want to just like rip your face off because you're just so sick and tired, because the muscles get tired, as you would expect, that kind of thing. peak tic severity before the mid-teen years, with improvement for the majority of patients in the late teen years and early adulthood. And that makes a lot of sense in a way, because as you get older, you become your neuroticism actually drops. So there, you are a lot better at coping with anxiety and things like that as you get older, right? And your agreeableness also increases, and certain things like that. So there are differences, and most teens, we're just, when you're a teenager, you're an idiot. Everything, teenage angst, everything is a problem, and obviously that emotional state is gonna aggravate the heck out of things, right? Involuntary, so we can control it. Certain things we can control, and for a certain amount of time. So we can't control it indefinitely. So for example, my wife has told me, even in my sleep, my eyes are still going, and my tics are still going, even when I'm sleeping. The causes unknown. No, we have no idea what causes it. Disorders are, so this is comorbidity. So attention, hyperactivity, impulsivity, ADD, problems with reading, writing, arithmetic. So for myself, my reading has never been a problem, although I do experience a slight degree of dyslexia with numbers. I can, numbers specifically, I can switch the numbers around quite a lot. So like 358, I will read as 385, for example. And so when I'm dealing with numbers, and you can imagine as an engineer how entertaining that is, right? I've got as they say in engineering, right? Measure twice, cut once. Okay, so that's very entertaining as an engineer, let me tell you. And I've done sometimes huge bugger ups where something is 100 and I actually did it the other day, right? Something I was supposed to bore a hole in a piece of material at 102. The diameter was supposed to be 102, but I went dyslexic and I read it as 120. So the thing was 20 mil too big, which is obviously no good, right? Because the fit had to be very, very precise within I think two hundredths of a millimeter, right? And now I'm 20 millimeters over. Total disaster, right? Material wasted, terrible, right? And so on and so forth. So that's it. And it's how is it diagnosed? Verifying that both the motor and for at least 1 year, sort of thing. Right, so that's basically the story there. Now myself, I only realized I actually had Tourette's. I was only diagnosed in my late teens, early 20s, right? But for the entirety of my life, my parents had no idea what was wrong with me. And as a result, you can imagine I was treated with inappropriately, to say the least, in many ways. A lot of people within sort of my immediate family and stuff like that, they just sort of thought it was some weird thing and would react with irritation and all that kind of stuff. Which is why, to a degree, I agree with raising awareness and all these kinds of things, because people can approach any disability with such an extraordinary amount of abject, bloody stupidity that it's inconceivable, right? Now, had I known from a young age, and had my parents known from a young age, that not only did I have Tourette's, but that I also had some of the comorbidities attached to it, then my school, my educational pathway would have probably been very, very different, right? Not that I did horrendously bad, because fortunately, because the reason I was tested, right? The reason I was eventually tested is because I developed, how can I say, typical teenage problems, because the family fell apart. So there was a divorce. I found myself homeless at one point. I got kicked out of the house. I became there was a lot of problems, right? Had no direction in life and things like that. And so my mom, being like sort of a bit concerned, sort of actually sent me to a psychologist, a professional at a hospital. Listen, check this guy out. What the hell is wrong with him? You know, is he just sort of whatever? Is he stupid? Is he whatever? Because my grades were fine. I was actually good at school. So, for example, I wasn't paying attention in class. Now you can imagine someone with ADD and whatever, young boy, and I had a problem with authority and all these kinds of things in school. So this one teacher thought she was going to teach me a lesson, right? It was biology class. Now I enjoyed biology, and I've always learned very well auditorily. If I listen, I learn, right? Don't ask me to sit there and go through pages and do, you know, don't ask me to study like a girl studies, okay? Sit there and do spider diagrams and all that nonsense. It doesn't work, right? I learned through listening. So even though I was messing around, I could still pay attention to what the teacher was saying. So the teacher thought she was very clever, and she turns to me, says, Morgan, right, you teach the lesson. And guess what I did? I got up and I taught the lesson, and let me tell you, the class remembered that lesson. Right, I can even remember what it was. We were talking about the plant, the diagram of the plant, and specifically the leaf, so for example, you have the pore with the mesophyll, right? And the mesophyll is the pore where you get gaseous exchange. That's where the plants sort of breathe through, right? They take in the gases and all these kinds of things. And then the mesophyll is the little thing that is like two little bean shapes. Right, so I made a joke in the class. I said, "Me so full. Think of it. How are you going to remember this guy?" I said, "If you are full of beans, me so full of beans, you will have gas and you will fart, and that is how you remember the function of the mesophyll. That's how you remember." And let me tell you, the class learned that lesson. No problem. Everyone at test time, they aced that section of the plant anatomy because I taught the class, and the teacher was like, "What the hell's going on?" Right? I was supposed to teach him a lesson. Didn't work. But other than that, you know, there were certain things like I could never go to university. Not a chance. I couldn't go to university to do anything. So had I had the correct guidance and stuff like that in life to put me in like an apprenticeship or something like that, because essentially what I got was I got kicked out of the house, and that was it, right? And nothing, right? Because and family problems and stuff. Got kicked out, and that was it. And I just started working. But here's the thing, right? I learned on the job, right? So I went straight into because my dad had always been an engineer. He was mostly electrical. I tend to prefer mechanical, even though I do electrical. I prefer mechanical engineering myself. And I did both, right? And I went and I learned on the job. And so had I understood and had some guidance and all these kinds of things, the perfect thing, and this is why I always encourage young men especially, do not think, and even young girls, do not think that university is the only way. It might not be for you, right? Go and do an apprenticeship instead. Go to a college that does hands-on in type of thing, that you can make damn good salary being an engineer, being a fitter and turner, being a plumber, doing all these kinds of things. There is nothing you can probably make, because in those things you can start your own business. That's the way to go for most people like us. Most young guys, if you've got ADD, and because the school system is rigged against young men. That's just one of those things. The school system is rigged for women. End of story. University rigged for women. So if you're a guy and you are wondering whether you should go to university or go straight into or rather go to like a technical college and do an apprenticeship and stuff like that, there's about a 50% chance that you should just go to a technical college, because university is not going to be for you unless, so for example, if you are curious, go and do a personality trait test. If you've got high conscientiousness, then go to university. If you've got low conscientiousness, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Go to a technical college, go and do an apprenticeship, because if you're low in conscientiousness, university is not for you, right? So for example, and here's the thing, right? I've got my conscientiousness in the person is the 77th percentile, so that's still very high. But because of my ADD and all these kinds of things, it was not high enough for me to be successful in a school system where everything is very, because also my openness, my trait openness is in the 90 something, but it's like 95th or 96th percentile. My openness is ridiculously sky high, which is not a good thing for university. So university profile is actually low openness, high conscientiousness, right? They don't. University is not geared for creative thinking outside the box people, which is what openness is about. So if you're high in openness, low in conscientiousness, go and start your own business, and then hire someone with high conscientiousness to do the administration for you. It's the best way to do it. You're going to have the ideas and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so here's what prompted me to do this video. So here's matey, right? Here's matey, Dave, apparently. It says here, broccoli pun is offensive to Tourette's sufferers. Right? Now, I suffer from Tourette's. I am not offended by the broccoli pun. Therefore, the statement is false. And here's the crux of my whole discourse, right? You want to raise awareness? Fine. You want to do whatever? Fine. In fact, I would encourage you, go raise awareness, go try and educate people, great stuff. Because my life would have been very, very different if my family and immediate family had not been as ignorant as they were regarding Tourette's. My life would have been my life outcome would have been very, very different. Okay? By all means, go and do that. And even for myself, right, knowing the parameters and all these kinds of things, if I had not only discovered exactly all my issues, and also when I eventually got tested, the psychologist also gave me an IQ test. Turns out my IQ was actually above average. I'm not going to say how much because then people want to become stupid, but I've got an above average IQ, so it had nothing to do with the fact that I was stupid or anything like that. I just had a different way of doing things and all these kinds of things, and it is actually quite typical for people with a high IQ to actually have neurological disorders, interestingly enough. It's actually very common. It seems that the higher your IQ is, the more likely that you have some kind of problem, like things like autism and stuff like that are very common in people with high IQ. Who knew? I didn't know that. It would have made a big difference. So by all means, but this idea, and this is my problem with this whole leftist social justice, emotionally incontinent stupidity that you constantly get, right, is they treat, first of all, they want to say, they treat me like, oh my God, I'm so, I'm offended, we are all precious little snowflakes, right? We're all precious little snowflakes. Treat me like an individual. And then they want to go say, and this is funny too, this is offensive. It's like, we're either individuals or we're not, okay? It's that simple. We're either individuals or not. So to now come out and to speak on behalf of any community as if the community is this one monolithic thing, and I've said this about because I'm a Latino as well. I've said the same thing about the whole Latino identity politics, mental stupidity, the black consciousness, the white, all of it, right? Like this imbecility that's like all white people are racist. It's retarded. It's retarded. And every time I see this, even in my own community, if I see another Latino spout this white people are racist bollocks, I cut them out. I take them out at the knees immediately. I said, how the hell are you going to lump all white people, right, into one cat, and you then want to get pissed off if they do the same with us, with Latinos? And it's the same thing with Tourette's, it's the same thing with ADD, it's the same thing with all of this. And here's the problem, right, is because the people that are making the noise are these whiny little pathetic little things, because it's one thing to have a disorder and all these kinds of things, but one of the comorbidities, as we saw in the description, one of the comorbidities is depression, which means high levels of neuroticism, right? Personality trait neuroticism. The people out there who are bitching and moaning all the time over every single stupid little thing are these people who are high neuroticism, who are emotionally labile, who have no ability to self-regulate, because that's the problem. People with the higher you are in emotional in neuroticism, the less able you are to regulate your own your internal mechanisms of regulating your emotions is less capable. Right, is less capable. So all of these whiny people out there, they're all the same. It's high I guarantee it. It's high neuroticism, right? And then these little idiots want to speak on, I'm so offended because whatever, and they want to speak on behalf of the entire community as if we're all offended. It's like, no, we're not all offended. You might be offended, and if you're offended, you know, fair enough. Then don't watch the damn comedy, okay? Switch off. Don't watch, okay? Instead of now going and, because now here's what they're doing, right? Now they're insisting this guy must apologize. Why? Just because you're offended and because you think this perpetrates negatives? No, okay? It's like, are there stupid people? Yes. Is getting your knickers in a twist going to change that? No. So what's the only thing you can change? You can change yourself, and you can change how you deal with the world. That's it. Change how you deal with the world, because whether or not you are offended has nothing to do with whether the subject is actually offensive, right? Being offended has everything to do with you. Everything to do with you, because the guy makes a joke. Let me show you the joke, right? Here's the joke. Where is it? Here's the joke. He says, I keep randomly shouting out broccoli and cauliflower. I think I might have florets. I think I might have florets. That's actually funny. Okay, it's not the best Tourette's joke I've ever heard. I heard a Tourette's joke the other day. I nearly died laughing. Now, it would be inappropriate for me to repeat on sort of thing, you know? But I heard a Tourette's jokes the other day. It nearly killed me. It was so funny. This is not the funniest joke I've ever heard, but it's actually funny. So I'm not offended, and so clearly this doesn't offend anyone. And the reason why it doesn't offend me, you can look at my personality profile, and you can see I've got high assertiveness, high extroversion. I'm a very highly confident individual, very highly assertive individual, right? Because my extroversion is in the 97th percentile, okay? And my neuroticism is very low, so it's only in the, I think, 9th or 10th percentile. It's very, very low, very below average, in fact, right? So I'm below the average neuroticism for men, I think, is the 30th percentile, so I'm well below average neuroticism even for men, and the average neuroticism for women is the 60th percentile. So that explains to you exactly why, if someone's going to be offended, chances are it's a woman, right? Or chances are it is a man with high levels of neuroticism, which is common to people with Tourette's. All right, so it has literally nothing to do with whether the joke is or is not offensive, but has everything to do with the fact that some people are emotionally labile, and because they have no capacity to regulate their emotions internally, they then have to force the outside world to regulate their emotions for them. Right? This is what the entire social justice movement is about. All of, whether it's Tourette's, doesn't matter what the disability is, It doesn't matter what the ethnicity, whether you're Latino or you black or you've got some disabled, whatever the hell it is, right? All of these authoritarian idiots, right, who are going out there and insisting that because we're a minority, right, we're like 1% or 2% of the same thing with LGBT stupidity, right? This tiny little minority of people are now going out there and insisting that the entire world change the way that they behave just to make us happy. And it's like, yes, be understanding, right? For sure. Be understanding, whatever the case might be, understand, like, if I mirror your actions, be understanding that, there's not much I can do about it, and you'd be like, well, fair enough, bro, carry on with life. And you treat me like a normal person, that you just carry on with life. And also if they really wanted to be treated like normal, like everyone else, right, then they would not expect that everyone walk on eggshells around them, right? Because if you do not walk on eggshells around normal people, then why the hell, if you want to be treated like a normal person, then why the hell should it be different for you? It's like you either want to be treated the same or you want special treatment. Decide. And here's the problem, right? It's like we have this disability, the stigma, right? The last thing we need, right? Tourette's is bad enough, right? The last thing we need is for the rest of the world to think that we're also a bunch of whiny little bitches who constantly have to demand the rest of the world constantly cater and pander to us like we're some delicate little stupid flowers, because we're not all of us are, right? Clearly, okay? And it's just grow a pair, right? Sort of thing, right? And yes, people can be insensitive. Yes, I mean, hell, I cannot tell you how many times I've been teased or whatever the case might be. And you know what? It's gonna happen. I was popular in school, right? Despite my Tourette's, etc., I was still popular. And even as a popular I never had problem getting girls. Right? I never had a problem being socially accepted or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, why? It's because it's how you deal with people. Has less to do with your disability and has more to do with how you relate to other people. Right? Your social skills. Develop social skills and people will accept you regardless of the disability that you have. I was very, very popular, right? And one of the irritating things is only once I left school did a lot of the girls who I was friends with tell me, oh, did you know that back in school so-and-so and so-and-so had a crush on you? And I'm like, well, why the hell didn't you tell me? Okay. I never had a problem getting girls. I've always had a girlfriend. I've always had friends. If anything, I was always more often than not, I was the alpha male in a group of friends. Never had a problem, right? Why? It's because, at the end of the day, it boils down, what kind of personality do you have? And if your personality, some of us have personalities that are conducive to social situations, and some of us do not. Right? And every single one of us have our cross to bear. Tourette's is your cross to bear. Like it or not, you were born that way, done and dusted. You're going to have to deal with it. End of story. You're the one that's going to have to deal with it, right? And is it nice if other people can sort of make accommodations? Yeah, it's nice. But you've got no right to force other people. You've got no right. If people find it funny, it's because it is funny, right? That joke is actually it's actually funny, right? And I'm ranting, but it's just, and this is the thing. Every single time you see a group of people kicking up a stink, right? Again, it's because neuroticism. So, I want to make this explicit. The higher you are in neuroticism, the less capable you are of internally regulating your own emotions, and the more you rely on external regulations for your emotional state, right? So literally what these people are doing is insisting that the rest of the world regulate their emotions for them. This is unacceptable, right? There goes my stupid phone again, making a noise. This is unacceptable. the, you do not have that right to demand that of other people. You simply do. Is it nice if people sort of, sort of, if they see you, sort of take it easy and, all right, the guy's got a bit of an issue, fair enough. But you've got no right to demand, because you know what? We've got Tourette's. Yeah, it sucks. It's our cross to bear. But everyone's got a cross to bear. Right? Are we now going to accommodate every single thing all the time, everywhere? Can't make a joke about anything. In fact, being able to make jokes is one of the ways in which people are able to cope with the issue, right? So this emotionally, we can't make fun and we can't do this and this and that. Some people cope through humor. Or you're going to take that away from them now as well, right? Because we're supposed to be this monolithic group who all feel the same way. It's retarded. It's idiotic, right? These people do not speak for us, right? So it was, she told, humor is a great way of educating people, but not only is it not funny to poke fun. So who's this? Suzanne Dawson, chief executive, so Suzanne, obviously, there we go. It had to be a chick to go and take offense, right? Had to be a woman to go take offense, right? Because, and this is how it works, right? This is how personality trait theory works. On average, right, woman neuroticism are at the 60th percentile. What does this mean? It means that if you choose at random, who has the highest amount of neuroticism between a man and a woman, and you do nothing but choose the woman, you will be right 60% of the time. That is actually one of the biggest personality differences between men and women, right? That is if you look at all the personality trait, if you look at Big Five personality trait theory, neuroticism and agreeableness are the two dimensions where men and women differ the most. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Men, this is how, and this is where women need to pull their heads out of their backsides, right? And understand that men relate to each other differently. All right? We are not you. Okay? Men, how do we relate to each other? We relate to each other by taking the mickey out of each other, by poking fun at each other, by roughhousing, and it's like, women just need to bloody well accept it. Get on with life, right? Just because you're offended does not mean that we shouldn't be doing it. Stop trying to change the way men relate to each other. Right? We relate to each other by making fun of each other, by joking around, by messing around. That is simply how we relate to each other. And women and beta males have absolutely no business, right, telling the other half of men how they should or should not relate to each other and deal with each other, right? Deal with people on an individual basis, but you've got no right to tell people how they should or should not deal or relate with people. I, as an individual, have a social contract with another individual, not a group. It's not groups of people that have social contracts with each other. It's individuals who have social contracts with each other, right? Me and you. We establish between me and you, how are we going to relate to each other? And we will try to navigate each other according to our personalities. So if I see you don't like something, then I won't do it. If you see that I like something, then you won't do it. And if we like it, then we do it. And and that's how we get along. And we muddle through, right? We muddle through. Sometimes we make mistakes and people make mistakes, and sometimes we offend each other. And not every offense, every slight is a cause for an absolute emotional meltdown. And now we must publicly flagellate this person, right? It's psychotic, right? So Suzanne Dobbins, there we go, Suzanne, no, not even funny. Charity's helpline had several from parents. Oh, there we go, parents, emotionally incontinent parents, right? Did they ask parents of children with the syndrome who were upset by the joke? So were the children with the syndrome upset, or were the parents upset? Oh my god, my precious little snowflake, right? It's like, did they bother to ask the people with Tourette's whether they were offended or not? Oh yeah, Tourette sufferer Paul Stevenson, who appeared on on BBC program Employable agreed, tweeting, "Living with Tourette's is no joke." Yeah, it's no joke, but so what, right? Let people make jokes. Who cares? If you're offended, turn a blind eye. Okay? Ignore it. Right? How the hell does his joke affect you at all? I've got Tourette. It doesn't affect me at all. Doesn't affect me. Right? Because why? And they want to tell you, oh, because it's got all of these it's got all these social consequences. It's like, no, it doesn't. Because when I meet an individual, I establish a social contract between myself and that individual. It's as simple as that. And if the guy wants to behave like a moron, do you know what I do? I walk away. I say, well, I clearly can't get along with you. You know, and then I jog on. I move on. Who cares? Right? But not everybody back to the charity stance. Well, duh. Thomas, anyone that can take the piss out of my autism and make me smile about it is welcome to do so. There we go. So why the outrage? Right? So here's a guy. There we go. My disability does not define me. And that is the crux of the matter. Your disability, your race, where you stick your penis or your vagina or what... all of these gender things, all of these doesn't define you, right? How are we not sick to death of people who define their entire bloody existence according to one dimension? How are we not sick to death of it? Why do we still put up with this, right? I happen to be an individual who happens to suffer from Tourette's. I am not a Tourette's. No, okay, it does. So it's what he's saying. Yeah, it doesn't define me, doesn't control me, or change my sense of humor. Shame on you from not approaching that. There we go. Simple as that, right? So I'll bet you right now, right? I'll bet you. You know what, man? I'd like to take a bet. So here's this guy living with who took. I'll bet you anything. This guy has got high trait neuroticism. And this guy here has got low trait neuroticism. I'll bet you anything. High neuroticism, low neuroticism. Whoop, sorry. Low neuroticism, high neuroticism. Right? So soy boy, not soy boy. Right? He's probably vegan. Carnivore. Now I'm making a joke, and if you're offended, I don't care. It's a joke, right? I agree with veganism. I believe veganism and vegetarianism is the way to go. So tough, as they say in South Africa, tough techies. Who cares, right? Edinburgh Fringe, Tourette's joke, apology. Here, live young, die by skewerty. Right? So Jess Tom, a comedian with Tourette's, is one of several people calling out, right? So, right, it's a woman, of course. What do you expect, right? She considers herself a comedian. Right. If you're a comedian and you cannot understand why the guy's joke was funny, then you need to change your profession. Okay? Because it's actually funny. And here's the thing. Just because you do not think it's funny does not mean it's not actually funny. And you need to take your little arrogance and your little narcissism, right? You need to take your narcissism, you need to wrap it up in a nice little bundle, and you need to go jump in the river with it, okay? Because you do not get to dictate who finds what funny. You don't, okay? And here's this thing. And this is, I believe, honestly, this is a problem with feminism. It's why I hate feminism. Feminism has made women in the West, right, imagine that their opinion, just because they have their opinion, that it counts for something, right? Just because they have it. It's like, yeah, you can have your opinion and stuff like that, but just because you have an opinion does not make your opinion is not law, right? I don't care if you have an opinion. You're welcome to your opinion. Go and live your life according to your opinion. Don't come and tell me how to live my life according to your opinion, right? And that's the problem. That's feminism, that's LGBT, that's Black Lives Matter, that's the whole social justice thing. Is like, oh my god, is these precious little snowflakes who think that their opinion is just automatic. I have an opinion, therefore everyone else must change the way they behave. Get lost. Right? Ask her to apologize. Dave, Dave's funniest joke, Fringe. All right. Olaf. Now, the chances of him seeing this video is next to zero. But if by some miracle Olaf Falafel if you're listening to this, don't apologize, right? You can use my Tourette's card for the day, right? I'll loan it. I'll loan it to you. You can have my Tourette's card for the day. I'll loan it to you. Don't apologize, okay? Don't give these idiots what they want. It said the fact that the public voted for the joke showed how we as a nation deal with people who are different. No, it shows that people find puns amusing because it was a pun. A comedian says she was so tired of her condition being used as a punchline. No, she's tired because Tourette's is tiring. Tourette's sucks, okay? But if her condition, you know, what does it have to do with you if other people are making jokes about the condition? Let them do it. Let them do it, right? By the way, this brings awareness to the issue, doesn't it? So you should be happy. Comedy, all right. So, it's a good one. It's a pun. Every kind. It's intended to be a joke. No, well, there we go. It's a pun. Puns are funny, right? There's Suzanne Dobson. There we go again. Mr. So, oh, there we go. Suzanne Dobson. Oh, right. Now, let me tell you something. Are you surprised that this is what she looks like? Right? Are you surprised that this person is a social justice warrior at all? Right? Are you surprised? I will. How much do you want to bet she's a feminist as well? Right? How much you want to bet? She found it difficult to understand what the general public found so funny. Really? Really? Come on. Calling him to apologize. Don't apologize. I would ask them to walk in the shoes of somebody with Tourette's for a day. You know what? Here's the thing. They can't. And you just need to accept the fact that that people who do not have Tourette's can't walk in our shoes. They can't do it. Why? Because they don't bloody have it. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna give him my Tourette's for the day? Really? Come on. Right? It's idiotic. It's asinine. Right? The only thing we as Tourette sufferers need, all we need, is that if you see that we act a little bit strange, just carry on like nothing happened. Just be cool about it. Or feel free to make a joke as long as it's funny. All right? Because some jokes suck, okay? If you're going to make a joke, make it funny. All right? At least make it funny. Right? But just be cool. Just be cool about it. And if we're a little bit strange, then we're a bit strange. Just carry on like nothing happened. Because nothing did happen. Right? And, you know, it sucks. What can you do? Right? It sucks. Have been contacted for coming. So yeah, Tourette's covered in bruises. Yeah, so you can bruise, man. Let me tell you, you can bruise yourself because you twitch and you go against something. Or there's some people it's so bad they can't even drive because the twitch they'll go and what's it. I actually want mine is not so bad that I can't drive, but I was cycling once and I had a bit of a something and I I went a little bit, off I went, and right, and yeah, I felt like a right plonker, let me tell you. But you know what? Get up and carry on with life, right? Because we all fall, we all rise. You know, it really Tourette's really sucks, but whining is not gonna change that. It's just exhausting. I woke up this morning and it just made me feel sad and tired. All feel sad and tired. You know what? This communions made me feel sad and tired. No, you feel sad and tired because you suffer from depression and you've got high neuroticism. That's why you're sad and tired about something that is a complete non-issue. I work hard to try and make good comedy and to make it accessible to a broad range of people. Impossible. Impossible. If you're it is not a necessary condition of comedy to be offensive, right? It's not a necessary condition. But the fact of the matter is that no matter what you do in life, you are going to offend someone. End of story. If you exist, you're going to offend someone. It's just that simple. So stop trying to not offend people, right? Because again, it is you as an individual need to learn how to self-regulate your emotions. And if you have the inability to do so because you've got high neuroticism, I sympathize. Pardon me. I sympathize with you because it really is difficult. But it is your responsibility to develop the coping mechanisms, right? Because everyone in the world struggles with something. Everyone struggles with something, right? And we all have to develop our coping mechanisms, right? It's no one else's problem at all. It's up to us as individuals. And if you can't do that, and you're going to constantly live your life about what other people are doing, your life is going to be a living hell, right? There are people out there with severe disabilities who are better off than people who are fully healthy. Why? Because their attitude is in the right place. Because they have the proper coping mechanisms. Whereas someone in perfect health, like you get some of these social justice warriors, these idiots who run around with placards, their lives are absolute. There's nothing wrong with them other than the fact that they're possessed by a demonic ideology. Nothing wrong with them otherwise. And their lives are miserable, right? Because their attitudes are pathetic. They're underdeveloped. Right? The whole social justice movement is basically what you get when parents neglect 2 generations of kids, and who are not properly socialized, and who do not develop the coping mechanisms to deal with the rough things in life. It's what you get when 2 generations of parents have done nothing but tell their kids, but remove all obstacles from their children, and done nothing but say, "Mummy loves you, you're so precious, you're so wonderful, here's a trophy for doing absolutely nothing." This is what you get. That's what you get with the social justice movement. All of it. And Christianity, and that's why the relevance is there, because Christianity, it's all about you have a duty to cultivate a cheerful heart. Yes, be sensitive to others, but you're not here to constantly bend to the whim of everyone else. No, not at all. Right? There's a difference between loving and kind and compassionate and being a doormat and being a servant to ignorance and stupidity. Christians are not called to bend to every whim of doctrine that floats around in the political world. Right? It feels frustrating and non-accessible when stereotyped work is rewarded. It's not if it's funny, it's funny. It's simple as that. And here's another point, right? There are a lot of comedians out there who themselves suffer with Tourette's, and they will use their own Tourette's as a source of comedy. So it's like, if you don't want people making a joke out of Tourette's, then guess what? The people with Tourette's should be the first ones to stop making jokes about themselves. If we can do it, so can everyone else. It's that simple, right? It's like with the whole stupid black consciousness movement, right? The black people are allowed to use the N-word, but white people can't. It's like, listen, the word is either offensive or it's not, right? So if it's really a bad word, then everyone should stop using it. It's as simple as that. If it's good for one but not good for another, you know what that's called? It's called hypocrisy. It's called double standards, is what it is. It's that simple. Right? It's that simple. And all right, so they go and they try to explain. Right? Another one. Tourette's charity attacks rubbish joke at winning. So yeah, you know, in fairness, right? Even though the joke is actually kind of funny, right? It is actually kind of funny. The fact that it won actually shows how bad modern comedy is getting, because seriously, if that's the funniest, because it is funny, but it's not half it's not pee myself funny, right? So it actually says more about the state of comedy than it actually says about anything else, right? To be honest. He won funniest joke, and there he is, right? You know, and he's bald, so you know, should he now be offended if people make cue ball jokes, right? Same thing. Here's the part again. I think I might have florets. You know, hit back. Tourette's not. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right? Tourette's Action said the following on Twitter. Right? That the joke was not about vegetables, but was actually about the incurable neurological disorder which causes a. So basically, Tourette's Action is treating everyone like they're retarded. It was not about vegetables. Really? Really? So, they had to take to Twitter. By the way, everyone, it had nothing to do with vegetables. Wow. Jeepers, I had no idea. I thought he was talking about broccoli. I really thought this joke was about cruciferous vegetables. Right? Come on. It's like, so here's the thing, right? Now everyone, really, you should play the social justice warrior game, okay? How people should respond to this tweet. It's like, are you because you know, you get mansplaining. So when they're like, the joke was not about vegetables, it was actually about Tourette's, they should turn around and say, are you, I don't know, are you Tourette's-plaining? Just throw it back. Said, hang on, are you treating me like I'm mentally deficient, that I can't understand a joke? How dare you? I'm offended, right? You should just actually, maybe you should, because it's just gonna get out of hand, right? It's gonna get completely ridiculous. Oh man, it's just so stupid. Why is it still okay to joke about the disability? It's because it's still funny, and because not all of us have a problem with it. Or more alarming, it's alarming. It's alarming, right? How dare you? It's alarming. These people, they were alarmed, don't you know? It was it was alarming. We're offended. Oh my goodness, where's my safe space? Right, bring me a teddy bear and coloring books, because I was triggered on Twitter. Oh man, stupidity should become a disability. Oh man. More alarmingly, provide a platform to further perpetuate tired. They're obviously not tired if people still find them funny. Stereotypical jokes that only reinforce the stigma. You know, here's the thing. I'm Latino, okay? I was born in Brazil. I was born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Okay? I'm Brazilian. Alright? Eu sou carioca. Okay? There we go. When people find out that I was born in Brazil, what's the first thing they ask? Come on, you guess, right? You have 2 seconds, right? What's the first thing people say to me when they find out that I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, right? What do they say, right? You've got 3 seconds to guess. 3, 2, 1. Do you play football? Do you like football? Straight up, right? Or do you like samba, right? First thing I get, right? Now, in that situation, I can react in 2 different ways. I can either be a whiny little bitch and become completely emotionally incontinent and be triggered. Oh my god, I'm offended, right? I can either do that, or I can simply accept the fact that my countrymen are so ridiculously obsessed with football. 90 My fellow countrymen are so obsessed with football that if you score an own goal, we will kill you. Literally, right? People have been shot. In Brazil, people have been shot for scoring an own goal. That's how fanatical we are about it. And also, we are coincidentally, the only producers of samba in the world. Right? And every Brazilian I know that lives outside of Brazil, right? That lives outside of Brazil. Now here's right, makes it a point of whatever to whenever there's a World Cup, to fly flags everywhere, let everyone know, everyone must know that I'm Brazilian and Brazilian football is the greatest, right? Like literally everywhere you go, right? If you know, there is this Brazilian pride that it's like the best thing in the world to be Brazilian. Oh my god, it's just like right? And there's nothing wrong with that nationalism and stuff like that, but literally, and make it a point that everyone must know that we do samba, and also that we are different from the Portuguese, right? You can't try mistaking a Brazilian for a Portuguese and see the indignation, right, that you're gonna get. We're not like the Portuguese. Right? It's just it's absolutely ridiculous, right? And so in that moment, all I do, right, one of the 2 reactions, I can either get emotionally incontinent and get all offended, or I can simply accept the fact that 99% of my fellow countrymen perpetuate the stereotype, like at every opportunity, right? And I'd just be like, and all I need to do in that situation is simply answer yes or no. It's like, listen, I can understand why you would think so, because the vast majority of us are completely ultra, as they would say in South Africa, are completely ultra verskrik about football. But in my particular case, I either yes I am or I am not. It's that simple. You don't need to get outraged. There's no need to get outraged. None whatsoever. In fact, here's another one I get when I tell people that I'm Brazilian. Also, one of the first things I get, you don't look Brazilian, because apparently, unless you look like Ronaldinho, people don't think you're not Brazilian, right? People say I look more like a Viking or a Jew or whatever the case might be, European and stuff. Yeah, because I've got European blood. My father's Portuguese. So I'm half Brazilian, half Portuguese, right? And I've got other mixtures in the background. In fact, I saw a photograph of my great grandmother for the first time, because the family somewhere managed to dig up some old photos. I saw for the first time a photo of my great grandmother, and she's black, right? She's black. It's like, wow, just it's unbelievable what you can have. Now, I always knew that this was the case, right? Because some of my ancestors on my mother's side are from slaves and stuff like that. I always knew, but to see the photo, it's so interesting. It's like that's my lineage. It's an absolutely fascinating thing. And she's black, right? She's black. You would never say that someone that looks like me came from her after 2 generations. So I'm 2 generations, great grandmother, I'm the 3rd generation from her, right? You would never realize, because there's mixture and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things, right? And because you get these things like on BuzzFeed and whatever, you know, like these people become so indignant because just because my eyes are like this, you know, you get these Asians in America, the Japanese, is just because I look like this doesn't mean I enjoy sushi, right? It's like your people literally invented sushi, right? So don't blame people if they expect that you enjoy sushi. Just like, why get offended? I don't get it. Why get offended? Right? If people come and say, oh, well, you don't look Brazilian. Well, now you know that not all Brazilians look like Ronaldinho or Romario or Bebeto or one of those guys that you know from, or Pelé. Then now you know. There we go. We don't all look like that. Carry on with life. It's not other people's responsibility to regulate your emotional, to regulate your emotions for you. No one's responsibility. And unfortunately, social justice and feminism and all this activist mental retardation, right, has convinced people that it is everyone else's responsibility except for their own to regulate their emotions for them. It's not true. It's not true. In fact, it is a point of psychological disorder, personality disorder, right? That if a person is unable to regulate their own emotions, it means you have a problem, right? It means you have a problem. It's one thing to expect everyone else to. You have no right to demand more than basic social etiquette from people. Please and thank you, you know, whatever the case might be, how you doing, all that. You have no right to expect any more than basic social. But now to demand that on top of that, I must now place the burden of every particular thing of my disorder is absolute garbage. Right? Is absolute, because now imagine this, right? You have 30 people, each with a completely different issue. How the hell are you going to now treat each and every single one you get nowhere. Like there was that video, there was recently a video about a socialist Democrat gathering of America. What an absolute joke. People, this guy and this girl could not get more than one sentence out before some idiot in the audience put up their hand, point of personal privilege, and proceeded to bitch and moan about something. About, please don't say this like that. Oh, okay. Yes, comrade. They're literally calling each other comrade. Oh, yes, okay. And then they say another sentence, and then some other idiot in the audience, point of personal privilege, please don't do this and do that. They could get nowhere. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is ridiculous. And Christianity, to end off on the Christian message and the Christian social justice, is nothing to do with Christianity. Social justice is from the pits of hell. All right? From the pits of hell. And social justice is being used, this perversion of the idea of what it means to be loving, because everyone is, oh, be loving like Jesus and all that kind of stuff, to the point now we're expected to promote sodomy, and one of these, I guarantee one of these days, the love of Jesus. Pedophilia is fine because it's a sexual and they're loving the children, so you must allow. Who are you to question love? Jesus was loving. Show the love of Jesus. This heresy is being used to push evil agendas. It is the Christian's duty to be loving, yes, and to be compassionate, yes, but it is not the Christian's duty to be completely hamstrung so that an individual can almost not even do anything in life, because there's 50,000,001 people all demanding individual little nonsense things. Because here's the thing with Christianity. Christianity also teaches personal responsibility, right? And taking, what does it say? Pick up your cross and bear it as well. So there's a balance. Do we need to be compassionate and think? Yes, absolutely. But also pick up your cross and bear it. It's no one else's responsibility to bear your cross for you. Does it? It sucks. Yes, it sucks. It's difficult. It's hard. I've got Tourette's. Believe me, I know. You don't have to tell me. And I've got other problems as well. The ADHD is not particularly wonderful either. And there's other things, right? Not particularly wonderful. Not particularly convenient. Let me tell you, right? We injure ourselves. This damn thing in my wrist, I've injured the muscle here that hurts like hell. Not convenient at all. But it's our cross to bear, damn it. Be a man. If you're a man, right? Be a man and bear it. And if you're a woman, yes, we understand, be compassionate and stuff like that. But stop demanding that everyone else conform to the parameters of your inability to regulate your own emotions. Right? And accept that men deal with things differently. Right? Feminism is constantly demanding that men be understanding, which is great. Men should be understanding, but you know what? It goes both ways. Women need to be understanding as well. And this feminization of society, right? Where everything needs to be dictated according to how people feel, and truth goes out the window, and law and order go completely out the window. Everything is just emotional incontinence left, right, and center. Is unacceptable. Is unacceptable. Men need to be men, and women need to be women, and the two need to have the necessary proper proprieties with each other, and not only men and women, but people between each other. The proper social. We are at no place in the Bible are we licensed to demand more than the proper social etiquettes and social niceties and stuff like that, because with every single moral duty that we have for being compassionate and stuff like that comes with an equal and opposite counterbalance of the moral responsibility to bear your own burdens as much as you can. Because everyone else already has their own burdens. And you cannot constantly be placing your issues on other people. You can't do it. Right? And if you see people doing something that you disagree with them, because we all disagree with stuff, it just happens, then don't go there. Do your own thing. Like I read again in the news, there's the boys, you know, these boys choirs, right? Boys choirs is an institution that's been around for like 500-600 years. Boys choirs. Some stupid girl goes and has now decided to sue because they're being discriminatory. Please explain to me why women cannot go and just make their own girls' choir. Why do they have to come and interfere with what the boys are doing? Go and make your own. But this is what the social justice, this is what the satanic globalist ideology that is designed to do. It's designed to destroy. And the people who are pushing it do not know how to create. Because if they knew how to create, they would say, right, you're doing your thing over there. We're going to go over here and we're going to do our own thing. We're going to create our own thing and we're going to make our own thing. If they were actually capable of creating. But no, all they know what to do is to destroy. I see something over there, and rather than say, oh, whatever is good about that, let me go over here and take what's good from over there and make my own thing, right? Where I can be and do my own thing. No, no, no. They have to go. There's jealousy, there's envy, there's emotion, the inability to emotionally regulate, and emotional incontinence and all those evil things. No, I must go over there and I must destroy what they're doing over there. And you had that with the Boy Scouts. You're now having that with this boys choir, and you have it with feminism, constantly trying to destroy masculinity. The APA, the American Psychological Association, has all but labeled masculinity as a disorder. As far as they are concerned, this idiotic association, and I've got a video on it, go check it out. They've all but labeled masculinity as a disorder. They can't be happy, right, for women to just go over here and do their own thing and create their own thing and be their own thing. No, 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 no. They have to come over here and they have to interfere with what men are doing, and they have to destroy what men are doing. Because somewhere along the line, feminism decided that to be feminine, you have to be like a man. Rubbish. And this is what this is all about. So it's this constant outrage culture, it's all part of the same thing, right? It's not, and just like the lady, oh, this joke was not actually about vegetables, it was actually about Tourette's. Let me tell you something, this is not just about Tourette's, this is about social engineering, about forcing other people to behave in a politically prescribed way and suppressing everything wrong. Think. Reject this nonsense. You have to reject this rubbish. This is from hell. This stuff is from hell. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, or if I do this, it's not because I'm coming on to you, by the way. All right. Oh dear. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. Take it easy. Right? Take it easy. Life's not that bad. Right? And God bless you. Right? God bless you. And no matter who you are, peace be with you. Right? That's one thing I like about the Islamic way of greeting. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. I don't care who you are. Peace be upon you, man. Rather than this outrage all the time and stuff. I know we all suffer. Just be at peace, right? Go with God, be at peace. We love you. All right? Take it easy. All right? Cheerio. I hope this video was at least entertaining. Okay? Go with God. Goodbye.